we mentioned this, that, somebody's got an idea on how to improve a bad football team. Last year, by definition, the Dallas Cowboys were a bad football team.
They needed a bodyguard. That was Willie Self.
No stallions there. Brian Schottenheimer is the brand new head coach there in Dallas, Shotty as people call him, and he talked about the strategy. He's got a new idea. He's going to move lockers around and move some things around for this upcoming season. Let's take a listen.
We moved some guys around. This year I did, along with the help of the staff. Again, they don't really get a say in that, but there's a method to the madness. I think when the guys went into the team room for the first time, I made them all stand up after they sat down. I let them sit down, and I had them stand up, and I had them move seats. Why? It's a new year. It's 2025. We'll do that in 2026. We'll do that in 2027 and beyond. I think it's just when you start a new year, do something different, change something up. So it's something that's talked about, thought about, but there's a method to the madness at times.
Now, the real stunner in all this is that even after all that, their Super Bowl odds didn't change on DraftKings.
Golly.
I was just going to say.
I
was like, yeah, that's going to do it. That'll do it. That'll break the drought.
Still sitting at that damn 70-1 to win it all. That's a shame.
I've said this before on the show, and I do truly believe this. I hate change for change's sake. However, there are times when I feel like change is needed. And so I don't feel like that phrase even makes any sense then. These are small things that if you're trying to work on team chemistry or team building, that's probably why you do them, to make sure both sides of the ball understand what the other side of the ball is trying to accomplish and developing deeper relationships with those guys. So it's not just about the offense, defense, special teams. There's more of a shared love for one another and your teammate. It's a small thing. In the end, does it add up to be enough to help this team get over the hump, win some playoff games, get to a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl? Probably not. But at least they're trying to do something different. I've been a part of teams that did stuff like this, and I always thought it's less efficient for a quarterback to not be with the other quarterbacks or near other offensive players, because oftentimes in the locker room, when it's before practice, after meetings, it could be before a walkthrough, it could be after practice, you have the opportunity to break some stuff, talk about some things, maybe before the guy goes home, or maybe before the guy, goes out onto the field and you just installed something. So you can, give them some answers, or you can talk about how you're seeing it or how they were taught to do it. It makes it harder to do that. When you're sitting, amongst different guys, you got to find the guy's lock, you got to figure out where it's at. And then you're talking to one guy, not the entire position group. So I've never been a fan of it. I think this kind of tells you what the Dallas Cowboys are at, right? Like almost like this offseason, they made a change because, it's New Year. Let's make a change, right? Mike McCarthy wasn't good enough for you? So you go with Brian Schottenheimer, who's less experienced, maybe even less prepared for that role. Literally, the decision of Brian Schottenheimer reflected the decision of Jerry Jones this offseason with this entire thing in Dallas.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day in this neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Like, F out of here with that Mr. Rogers neighborhood type. These grown-ass men, man. Grown-ass men. What you mean you don't get a say or a choice? And, of course, you don't. Generally speaking, you get assigned a locker. Like, okay, you come into the locker. Now, if you got a guy that's a vet and they've been there for a while and they had the same locker, you're going to uproot that man out of his locker. So you're telling me I came into the locker room and one of the guys that was near me was Darryl Green. So you're going to come in and say, yeah, for the sake of the shakeup of what we got going on with our locker room and with our team, we're going to move Darryl Green's locker. Man, you must be out of your mind. Like, if you want to come, what the what? If you want to come in and make a statement, and listen, I know Brian. I know him, and he was a part of Washington when I was there. his dad was literally one of my favorite coaches of all time. God rest his soul. Marty was one of my favorite coaches. And a lot of the friction that he ran into in D.C. was with veterans because he was going to do it his way. They called it Marty ball. And the vets didn't like him at all. They did not care for him, did not like him. That was the Bruce Smith. Pray for what? Pray for some of this madness going on around here. And so, but Brian, you should learn from the mistakes of the past. And not saying that Marty wasn't a successful coach in the league, but you know, it's 2025, man. You're getting your opportunity to be a head coach. The one thing you don't want to do is start off on the wrong foot. And the worst thing you could do is have your veterans looking at you like, bro, I'm not a child. In fact, I have children. I have 5 of them. I have 4 of them. I have 3 of them. Like, you don't have to treat me like a child. This is the profession. This is the professional level. So if you're putting in a system of seating charts and all that stuff and where people's lockers are, at least have a conversation with your vets. At least make sure that you have the support and the understanding of your veterans. Because if you go into it with that they don't have a choice, you've already set a tone. You've already set a tone, and you're not coming in with accolades that would say, you know what, we should trust what he's saying. What has Brian Schottenheimer done where a veteran would sit there and be like, yep, we got to do everything that he says. If we do it, we're going to go to the promised land. It's like what I said with Robert Ory the other day, yesterday maybe, where he said, like, JJ Redick talking about they need to be in championship condition. What does he know about championship condition? You know, now Brian Schottenheimer has been a part of successful coaching staffs, but he's never been a head coach, and he's never won a championship as a head coach. To me, I think it's the wrong approach. If you're going to endear yourself to the guys that matter the most, the core nucleus of guys on your team, which he already has a relationship with some of them anyway, I still think that the most wise and prudent way to get to where you're trying to get to with a group of adults is to get in cahoots and be on the same page with them in terms of parts of what your plan is. You don't have to disclose everything, but you need to let them know some of the things, and especially if it's going to be in like an authoritative way where it's like you're moving your locker or you're going to sit here. Like, man, cats come in there mixing their coffee and cocoa and stuff like that, trying to wake their asses up. Some of these dudes done been up all night with their kid, trying to make sure their kid goes to bed. Some of these dudes is studying their playbooks, this, that. You coming into the meetings, it's early, it's afternoon, it's late, you're tired, you're fatigued. You come, you sit down, it's like, come on, man. Like, if I've been sitting in this seat for the last 3, 4, 5 years, do not mess with me on stuff like that. There's bigger hills to stand on and fight on and die on. Don't stand on that one and don't die on that one. I don't even care if that's to try to set a tone and mix things up. You're starting off on the wrong foot if you ask me. So
let me ask you this, Jonas. Does that sound like LaVar's being over the top about his locker?
No.
No, I'm asking honestly because your locker's a little bit of like a sacred place.
That's
this
your
is
house.
It's going to sound corny, but to that point, it's the only thing in the facility that feels like it's your property, right? Like it's the only place that feels like your place to deal with, whether it's the stress, the pressure, whether it's just a moment to like decompress, whether you're going back to check your phone, saying something to one of your loved ones, you know, it's weird. And until LaVar was literally just saying this, I never really fully thought of it this way.
It's not weird. For people that work in an office job, I've had a cubicle before. Like, it's this little enclosure, and it's like, but if somebody were to come in there and start moving your stuff around, or just you would come in there one day and all your stuff would be moved and they tell you to go to another place, it would kind of throw you off a little bit. Like, hold on a second.
That's why when someone takes something out of your locker, like it's a fight.
And you know it.
Right.
That's the thing. Think about it. Somebody removes something from your locker, you'd be like, wait, who took my speed stick? Where, you nasty mother effers. Where's my deodorant?
I don't know if I'm actually throwing down over a speed stick, but
Hey,
you
man,
know,
you know what I'm saying.
yeah. The
You know what
the
I'm
general
saying. Don't
point
worry,
is
don't
it's
come
the
in my
only
locker.
place that you feel like is yours, and it's the closest thing to a cubicle that you have in the facility. You know, your position, meeting rooms, you've got a spot or a desk, whatever. It doesn't really feel like that. It's hard to explain because it's more of a shared space. Your locker's yours. Like, that's your spot. And if it gets moved or someone takes something out of it, like you take offense to that. You know, a lot of times when you're released or when you leave,
There you
like
go.
you kind of look back up at the locker, like that's what you're clearing out.
There you go.
And by the way, did
And
Schott?
you clear it out.
Did Schott?
If you're blessed enough, you clear it out. Don't nobody. I love my like Brad Berlin and Anders and all of them, like the LA Nation, our equipment managers. When it was time, like when they say take you out on your shield, leave on your shield, that's cleaning your locker out. If you're blessed enough to be in the league long enough and have established something, if you leave the organization you're in and you've been there for a while, you clean your locker out. If that place mattered to you and what you did mattered to you, I cleaned my locker out. And I had my final look at my locker. I've had 2 lockers in my pro career, and I spent 5 years in one. I spent 5 years in one, and when I left Washington, that was like a moment. Like that was like the end of the series. Like you talk about the final chapter or the final page of the story. I cleaned out my locker. So understanding the sentimental value of all the memories, they called our area Park Place. Like there was like different parts of the board around our locker room. Like you had Baltic Ave, like that's like $15, $20 to buy. I was in the area with all the high rollers because I was a high draft pick. So it was like Darryl Green and Big Daddy Wilkinson and Marco Coleman and Kennard Lang and Chris Samuels, Deion Sanders. We were all in the same corner. And let me tell you something. I watched guys come and go. By the time I was at the end of my career, I was the old head. And I had only been there for 4 or 5 years, right? Darryl Green was gone. Big Daddy Wilkinson gone. Marco Coleman gone. All of them were gone. So that was like my space. That was me and Chris's space. They were all gone. We were like the only ones that were the originals that were left. You know, there's certain things that are sacred to us. Don't mess around with that, man. Like that's a battle you don't need to get into, man.